Hey, Dave. You're the first one on. Congrats. Howdy, Mr. Best. Howdy, Jay. Where you guys been? Howdy, Atalaya Demerel. I don't know what that is. Howdy, Duck 21. Howdy, Youngs. Sky 07, welcome. Hey, Self-Evident One. Thanks for the reminder about that message earlier, by the way. Yeah, I do have a response, just for the record. What's up? Abdullah, I missed that one. And Crookston, hey, Jeff. Now, Jay, I've seen you come on here twice. Did it kick you off? Or are you just, getting double dose of the Free Capitalist tonight? Yep, still in Salt Lake City. Just finishing up some free enterprise capitalism. Lake Havasu. I see. Sky07, you've got a question. Sure, I've got a short introduction. I'm going to share some thoughts and get into the questions, but go ahead and paste it now if you want. And then if I lose track of it, just remind me and paste it again. All right. Hey, DB Sound. Yeah, you can type. It's great. All right, guys, don't forget to swipe up and share it on Facebook. Invite your friends. It'll be a good conversation tonight. No holds barred. You can ask any question you want. I know last night I was a little low-key. Tonight, I'll be a little bit more amped up. I'll tackle any question you want. You want to talk about angels and demons again tonight? That's great. Well, I'm going to start the conversation, BZ, here in just a second. We're going to wait about another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to start the conversation, and then it's open forum. Whatever you want to talk about, if you want to chime into the conversation that's going on, or you want to change the topic, we'll play the game today. All is fair in love and war, and ask the free capitalist. Is money just any type of value we create for others? Now, Principle 7 is worded in the language of everyday life. Hey, Real Nick Morton. And that's a great question. I'll answer that. Remind me if I don't get back to it, all right? That's a great question. So is there a fake Nick Morton? Thoughts on Trump? Yeah, I do have thoughts on Trump. Matter of fact, I'm going to share. Hey, Adam, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on Trump here in my introduction. And then if you've got some thoughts, I'd love to hear yours too. So just to get started. So I've been doing some business, some free capitalizing here in Salt Lake City, and I had a good conversation today with a very prominent Republican, a very prominent attorney in this neck of the country, neck of the woods, and we were talking about Donald Trump, and we're talking about everything that's going on with Donald Trump, and I was real surprised at some of the take on this, and I was actually talking about an interview that I saw with Dr. Ron Paul, and some of you know I've had the opportunity to visit with Dr. Paul and to support Dr. Paul in the past and to help other supporters of Dr. Paul and this kind of thing. And I like to pay attention to what he has said. Don't always agree with him, but generally consider him a great friend to liberty and a great friend of the free capitalist. As you know, he's an honorary free capitalist. He's got the gold free capitalist lapel pin. Not very many people have that. And so anyway, we're talking about this conversation. We're talking about Dr. Paul's statements. And I said, if you read between the lines, you'll see something where Dr. Paul's been saying a lot of the same thing we've been saying here, both on Free Capitalist Radio and in our evening Free Capitalist Capitalist Chats. He talked about Donald Trump being a disruptor. And he, of course, said Donald Trump's dangerous. I've been telling you, any politician who doesn't have a principled framework, a comprehensive philosophy is dangerous. And, it's not unique to Donald Trump. I mean, almost all of the current presidential candidates on both sides are much more unhinged from, that's the word of the week, from any real principles. They're all cults of personality. And but it's interesting because we're talking about what is Donald Trump doing and why this disruption and why is it that everybody claims they can't understand what's going on. And I talked about how it was an indictment of most people's ability to just face reality, to just look reality in the face. And so I wanted to share that. And I want to back up. And listen, I'm not here to defend Donald Trump, but I am here to defend reason, and I am here to defend principled thinking. And I want if you're going to criticize Donald Trump or anybody else, and you're going to be a friend of the free capitalists, you're going to have to turn your brain on, and you're going to have to offer principled criticism. Because people who are saying that Donald Trump reminds them of Hitler and Mussolini are just confessing their idiocy. Donald Trump is nothing close to Hitler and Mussolini. And I challenge those who think otherwise to actually articulate principles. I was even just reading today, Foundation for Economic Education, and normally, I find very principled writing on fee.org and this kind of thing, and they're so afraid of this cult of personality. I mean, people who don't have answers and don't know what to do to save the United States of America, they get very scared when people play outside the game that they're playing. It's like we're all playing this game of Candyland, and whenever anybody decides they want to play a different game, it's scary, and disruption's scary. And so there are really only two ways to look at this, my friend. And again, I'm not here to suggest who to vote for. I'll tell you who I like it later. But no matter what you do, for the sake of your own life, for the sake of your own prosperity, for the sake of your own success in your relationships, in your business, in money making, in politics, you've got to learn to think based on principle, because that's going to give you the razor's edge to think through what's going on, to strategize, to make choices, and to get ahead. And I consider myself a very happy person. I'm also a very passionate person, and I also get very passionate defending things I love. Absolutely. So if you want to know what a free capitalist is, great question. You can go to freecapitalist.com and click on Free Capitalist Ideas, and that'll give you a great summary. So get me back to this introduction. I just want to throw this out there for you. If you're watching politics, my friends, there's really only two ways to see this. Okay? There's only two ways to see what's happening in the United States of America in 2015. Okay? There's one perspective that says everything's cool in Washington. Things are all right. We just need minor repairs. Government's there to take care of us. And, you got some choices. You got elephants and donkeys. And let's pick the best one, who's going to lead us down this same old path. And there's a group of people who think that. They're a group of institutional, status quo, incrementalists who think that the job of Washington, D.C. to slowly march us forward in social progress and social justice and the American dream. Of course, that's not the American dream. That's not American liberty, and that's not principles. That doesn't ever lead to prosperity. It leads to more tyranny. It leads to less freedom. But there's one way to say it, is that the institution's fine. Yeah, we'll get to the straw poll in a second. Ask me again. But there's one view that says, all right, everything's okay. And there's another view that says there's a problem. The machine in Washington, D.C. is a problem. The government in Washington, D.C. is a problem. And polls show most Trump supporters earn less than $50,000. That's not true. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Matter of fact, I'll get into some polls here in just a minute. But there's another worldview that says Washington is broken, and we need to change it. And the rhetoric of change is being sold on the cheap. And the promises of change is being sold to a group of slothful and brain-off people who keep thinking if we just change the cult of personality, if they just keep changing, let's put a black guy in the office, let's put a woman in the office, let's put a businessman in the office. Okay, this kind of numbskull brain-off thinking hasn't helped us. We've been marching towards tyranny for more than 80 years. We've had bouts of tyranny since the beginning of our republic, but mentally, the American people have gone for this sort of paternalism, which has led to socialism, and people who wake up and turn their brain on, like people who are listening to this show, and people who check into Free Capitalist Radio, people people who check into the Free Capitalist Periscope, they're going, what the hell is going on? Why are people just crazy, stupid? And we can have disagreements among ourselves. People who agree in principles can still have passionate disagreements about strategy. But all of us over on one side look at Washington, D.C. and go, what the heck? That is crazy. And we want a disruption. We want to change. We want real change. We don't want rhetorical change. We don't want to change the furniture. I mean, I know Barack Obama has added a little African-American flair to the Oval Office with his decor. That's great. I like it. Now, I like the style. But that doesn't change a dang thing about America. What he's done is he's just speeded up the growth of government and the adherence to socialistic philosophy. And people who have turned their brain on, they know this, right? So you want to do something about it. So you take those worldviews. If your worldview is Washington just needs a minor repair, and we just need, common sense, basic thinking, and, just, kind of, real practical, that, this election's not a big deal, life in America is great, and, we've got our problem, and we should fix them. If that's you, I got nothing to say to you tonight. If you really want change, if you want to see America, the America that was envisioned by the founders, if you want to be part of a moral revolution, let's see, you said, I've studied philosophy of cognition and its relationship to neuroscience. Yeah, of course. If you know a little bit about my story, you know a little bit about my study. But if you want to be part of a moral revolution to sanction and complete what started back in the day of the founders, okay, and your brain is on and you're going, man, that machine is broke. We got to change it. We got to fix it. I want you to think about what that looks like. Okay? See, because let me just think about it. I mean, is Washington, D.C. in your mind a little socialistic or a lot socialistic? Is Washington, D.C. a little out of touch or a lot out of touch? Is Washington, D.C. Powerful and growing in power, or is it just a little overgrown? Okay, is the media establishment and the money establishment and the corporate establishment and the international kind of World Bank, IMF, are they weak or are they strong? See, because if you recognize that we've got a major problem and we've got to do a major change, you can't get so soft-skinned that you believe the show in front of your eyes. You think we're going to elect somebody who's copacetic? You think we're going to elect somebody who's not going to cause controversy? You think we're going to elect somebody who's, there's going to be a sizable portion of the media establishment and the government that support them? I'll tell you, there are 3 candidates on the Republican platform. Unregulated capitalism results in monopolies and wealth concentration. Thomas Graham, sorry, my brother, you need to wake up and turn your brain on. It's okay. I know you've been trained, taught, and educated to think that way, but capitalism's liberty. You'll never find a monopoly that doesn't exist because of government subsidy and government protection. I highly recommend you pick up Miss Ayn Rand's collection of essays called Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal. It'll rock your world. And one of the things you'll see is the basic principle of capitalism liberty says there is no such thing as a monopoly until the guys with the guns come in and point their guns at the people who would challenge the existing power structures and say, back off. And so there is no such thing as a monopoly. Yeah, but, well, first of all, Walmart's not a monopoly in the classic sense, but Walmart is protected by government subsidies. Cities give Walmart all kinds of development grants, all kinds of tax breaks. Walmart is in an unholy alliance with these cities because of the nature of the beast. I don't think Walmart's evil, by the way. That's a whole different brain-off philosophy. But Walmart is clearly not a monopoly. Nevertheless, there is monopolistic pressure in our city governments that favors like big box stores, etc. I'm very grateful that places like Walmart exist, and you should be too, by the way, if you understand freedom. But nevertheless, let's not get distracted. I want to get back to this idea. If you really want to see disruption in Washington, D.C., I want you to think about this for a second. If you really want to see a revolution towards liberty and capitalism and freedom, and your own personal prosperity, if you want to break the chains, man, if you want to change, right, you can't keep getting along with everybody. That's true for you. It's true for your family. It's true for your community. It's true for these candidates. And there are 3 candidates on the Republican stage who don't get along with people. Okay? And they're the ones you want to be taking note of. Okay? There are three candidates that the institutional establishments are scared to death of, and you can just tell by how they're treated in the media and how they're treated by the institutional Republican and Democratic parties. And those three candidates are causing the not on purpose. That's how I love capitalism. It's the invisible hand. Those three candidates are causing something in 2015 that hasn't happened in the United States for almost 3 full generations. And what's happening is, for the first time, you have a major movement in the electorate that's going countercurrent against the media establishment. Hasn't happened since the 1940s. Okay? And even then, I would argue what might be happening now is even bigger than that. And what you've got is Donald Trump, who's crazy, right? I mean, he's got no coherent philosophy, but he's got real passion for the United States of America. He's got real passion for making America great, right? He's a successful businessman with enough money, power, influence, and relationships that he says to people who try to slap him down, screw you. And he's really tormenting the establishment, and that's great. You know, again, even Dr. Ron Paul says, man, that disruption's great. It's entertaining. It's healthy. It's good. He's like a guy breaking up these institutions of power. Even Rand Paul came out the other day and said that, you know, he was going to respond to this idea that Donald Trump was disqualified, and he says that Barack Obama was disqualified. So what were the capitalism papers called? I don't know what you're talking about. And so polarization, I don't know what that means either. I don't know what you're talking about. The other one is Ted Cruz. Of course, Ted Cruz he and Mike Lee and these people, they've gone to Washington and said, screw the establishment, and they've caused major problems in the machinery of Washington, D.C. And then you have Rand Paul, right, continuing in the legacy, the best he's been able to do of Dr. Paul. And these three people are rocking the Republican Party and the Washington machinery's world because they won't play by the game. They won't play Candyland with everybody. Now, sadly, Dr. Paul and Rand, they've made some strategic mistakes, and we'll talk about them in a different episode. They're great friends of ours, and I wish them very well, but strategically they're making some really bad mistakes, which is why they're not doing well. Ayn Rand, A-Y-N, not Ayn Rand, A-Y-N, Ayn. Okay. Now, here's the point, my friends. All this controversy about Donald Trump. Who's calling him Mussolini and Hitler? People who want you to go away. It's like the Truman Show. Okay. We are now in the car with Truman. Okay. And he's just driven over the bridge. Okay. And he's driving through the fire. And he's gone on to the nuclear disaster, and they're saying, don't go near there. Don't go near there. Okay? Well, Hitler was a politician who came out of the military with huge political ambitions and spent a tremendous amount, viewed himself as an ideologue, wrote his philosophy when he was in prison for his controversial ideology, if you will. And he came out as a politician, worked for years to become a political leader, and he was an avowed socialist, okay? And he had a war with communism and other forms of socialism, but he wanted to promote this idea of National Socialism. Now, let's be clear what National Socialism was. Most people have no idea. Most of you don't know, and I'm sad to say that, but most of you could use some good, serious nuts and bolts in American history, and most of our friends in America could use some serious nuts and bolts in American history. Remember, we've been talking over the last couple of weeks about class warfare and pitting the middle class and the lower class and the racial classes and the working classes and the guilds against each other. Okay? Well, what Hitler said was, hey, you guys, I've got a better idea. We're going to have a national class. And he took the same philosophy of socialism, and it was called National Socialism because they were going to pit nation states against each other. And he started talking about the inferiority of certain nations versus others. And he took the dialectical materialism of Hegel, and he implemented as an ideology, a socialist ideology. He was a self-proclaimed socialist, okay? Now, where is Donald Trump like this? Where is Donald Trump is nothing like this. His background's not the same. He's not a self-professed ideologue. His books aren't totems on political philosophy. His books are about how to win, how to be successful, entrepreneurialism. That's quintessential Americana. He's brash. He's braggadocio. A lot of people don't like his style. That's great. That's what America's about. Go mix it up. Go do things. People can love you or hate you. Free country, right? And so what happened is Donald Trump, if you look at his Oprah interview from years ago, he said, man, this is getting so bad, I'm going to have to step in and help it out. And no matter what you think of him, in terms of his policies, okay? Because again, you've heard what I think of him. You've got to understand that the reason he's so powerful is he comes from a much different base than Adolf Hitler. He didn't try to work party politics and get the party to support him. Matter of fact, he's doing the opposite. He's telling Republicans, hey, listen, you screw with me, I'll just leave. I'll just leave. That this revolution and this thing that's happening in America is not even close to the formula for Adolf Hitler. But the reason they want you to think of Adolf Hitler is they know you're too stupid to really think through this, and that'll just scare you, and you'll say, yeah, Donald Trump, bad. Yeah, Donald Trump, bad. Boy, he shouldn't have said that about those Muslims. Mussolini. They compared him to Mussolini, and now they're calling him a fascist. Lindsey Graham wouldn't know the difference between a fascist and a communist and a socialist and a capitalist. Lindsey Graham is an unaccomplished blowhard whose only success in life has been as a senator from South Carolina, and he's getting old and irrelevant. And he decided to run for president because his friend John McCain thought that old Republican institution would support a good old boy like Lindsey Graham. He has no more political ideology than Donald Trump, by the way. He just is loyal to the inside machine and loyal to the inside establishment. He's calling Donald Trump a fascist. And other people are now calling Donald Trump a fascist. Who's calling him a fascist? Insiders who don't like their machine being broken. They don't like that Donald Trump won't play Candyland. Okay? Now, for anybody who loves liberty, Donald Trump's not your guy as a libertarian. For anybody who loves liberty, Donald Trump's not your guy who's going to advance the moral revolution for freedom and liberty. But Donald Trump is doing great work in his disruption and his patriotism and his standing up for the ideals of Americanism. Okay? And he's doing it imperfectly. Of course, there are things he says and doesn't drive me crazy. But he's in the game. He's like a football player in the game. And he's your running back, man. He's an American. You got to think about this. These people, they want us to see Donald Trump as like non-American. And they're trying to make him seem like, well, that's just un-American. That's why they're using it. This is un-American. Well, how the hell is the Patriot Act American? How the hell is Obamacare American? That's European. Right? And they're playing these word games because your brain is off. You're not you, but your sister. And when your brain is off, you're just like, oh, yeah. The zombie apocalypse is here. And the zombies are everywhere. Because they're not thinking. They're not thinking. And they're just playing these words. Oh, that sounds like Hitler. I mean, what in the world? George Takei? Well, isn't that what his name is? Isn't that the Star Wars guy? Is it George? For some reason, my brain's... George Takei. You know, Sulu from Star Trek, Japanese fellow whose family was treated brutally and put in concentration camp. He's crazy. Comparing Donald Trump to concentration camps? Are you kidding me? Do you even know the history? No, most people don't even know. They went to public school, so they learned the bull BS story about, yeah, he's not really a capitalist, not philosophically, but he is a friend of the capitalists, right? Yeah, George Takei, that's right. And so he's talking about Donald Trump as like these internment camps. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I want to finish talking about Mussolini. Mussolini was a public school teacher and a promoter of socialism who rose to power over the rhetoric of socialism, and then he became essentially a communist, but he didn't like the Communist Party, so he formed his own group called fascism. And how in the world? I mean, his whole rise to power in Italy was also a political rise to power. It was not the outsider rise to power like people say, well, populism. Well, what the crap does that mean? Anybody who competes in a democratic republic or in any kind of democratic system is going to have to rely on some form of populism. So these people, they want you to say, oh, he's like Adolf Hitler. Well, what policies are like Adolf Hitler's? And here's their argument. Oh my gosh. Fascism is the stepchild. It is just, no, stop saying stupid things. Okay? Get rid of the bumper stickers, dude. Fascism is socialism. It's not a little stepchild. It's just socialism. You see, the problem with those little bumper sticker statements is they become tropes that cause people not to think. Fascism is socialism. Okay? Fascism is socialism just as much as you and I are Americans. We're not the same American, but we're different. Right? but we're still Americans, okay? Fascism, so what would make it left-wing? Fascism is not left-wing. Okay, we don't have time for that lesson today. Good. Well, I take that back. I said any questions. So hold on a second. Let me finish where I'm going. I'll back up and I'll tackle any questions. Sorry. I get a little frustrated. I don't mean to be directing that frustration at you. I get frustrated because buddy, can you see my post? Yeah, I don't. Matter of fact, I'm going to block you because I don't like your name. Okay, so I got rid of that dude. All right. Yeah, just to answer, it'll be fast. I'm going to answer everybody's question. Watch, I'm going to do something today. We're going to just nail them out. So here's the finish of my point. So concentration camps. Do y'all even know what the concentration camps were? Most people don't even realize. The biggest problem, the biggest failure in the United States with the concentration camps is no one knew how to get this to the courts quick enough and challenge it on a constitutional basis. So the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment literally were ignored under military order. Now, finally, the Supreme Court did start to rule and started to make some distinctions. But the problem is when free people don't know how to use the courts, you got a big problem. And that's one of the problems we have today. But let me explain to you what the concentration camps were. They weren't not the internment camps for the Japanese Americans, real quick. And let's compare that to what Donald Trump's talking about. The reason they're telling you this is because that's a big, scary, bad thing, and they're trying to associate Donald Trump with a big, scary, bad thing. But it's apples and oranges. Clearly apples and oranges. The internment camps, what they did is the President of the United States signed an executive order during wartime that allowed military leaders to designate certain parts of the United States as special areas related to the war. Special areas of strategic significance related to the war. And it, by the way, is a liberal socialist president who did that. Okay, so Hitler was a liberal socialist. Mussolini was a liberal socialist. Okay, FDR was a liberal socialist. Okay, and what he did, he passed this because liberal socialists don't believe in the principle of liberty, and so they will trot over it all the time. And so it's funny that the liberal socialists today are trying to equate Donald Trump with liberal socialism because they know it's bad. But it's like Bernie Sanders and Barack Obama, who are liberal socialists, and Hillary Clinton, who's a liberal socialist, and the Republicans who pretend to be Republican conservatives, who are really conservative socialists, right? They still believe in socialism, not the word, but the concept. They still want to use the government to make the world a better place. And so, does the Ex-Im Bank help us compete with other Ex-Im banks? Does the Export-Import Bank help us? Well, the Export-Import Bank is another problem because the Export-Import Bank is the government manipulation of the economy. And so, let me get back to this point. So, with the internment camps, what happened is the military designated certain areas in the United States and said that anybody within those areas who were non-citizens or including citizens who were Japanese or who had Japanese ancestry, they couldn't be in these areas. Okay, so they either had to move, get out, or they were subject to internment. Okay, horrible, horrible thing. It was a liberal socialist who did it. But by the way, guess where the biggest problem was? It was in California. No, I wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. But I like what Donald Trump's doing. I'm so grateful. He's like dropping these atomic bombs metaphorically on the political establishment. Hallelujah. Yeah, I believe in all kinds of forms of social welfare, just not through the government. I don't believe in guns to do good. I believe in guns for self-defense. And because capitalism is about liberty, it's about freedom. The free people are generous. Free people are helpful. Absolutely, I believe in social welfare. You know, if you want to make things cheap and widespread, you let capitalism work. You know, there's no law mandating that we all have smartphones, but we all have smartphones. Even the poorest of the poor have smartphones. There's no law mandating that we have tennis shoes, but even the poorest of the poor in our country have tennis shoes. There's no law mandating these things because if you allow freedom to go long enough, it makes things abundant and cheap. All right, now, I want to go back to this issue. You want to know where the internment camps really were mostly employed? California, which is governed by a bunch of liberal socialists, was governed back then by a huge influence of liberal socialism in America. And California was the chief area that was designated. There were other areas, but California was the chief area that was designated. So, what in the world is Donald Trump doing that's like Hitler, like Mussolini, and like internment camps? Well, here's what he's saying. It is too cheap. Are you kidding me? How did you get it? How did you get a smartphone? Okay, so I'm going to go back to internment camps in a minute, but DRS 160, how did you get a cell phone? How did you get it? Hello? Come on, brother, you're going to speak up. Be accountable here. Yeah, Verizon. What do you mean it's not cheap? It's got a digital camera on it. It's got the ability to video record. It's got the ability to spread audio and communicate audio. It's got all the apps on it. And what? I mean, maximum, it costs you $500 over time. That's nothing. I mean, how did you get it? How much money do you make a year? No kidding. Look, I guarantee you, you're not rich, or you wouldn't be talking like that. See, even the poor and the middle class, I bought my phone, paid a lot for it. Great, that's awesome. And the fact that you were able to get a cell phone without a government subsidy, holy crap. Believe it or not. And you're doing it without a government subsidy. If the government was involved, only the rich could afford them. And the more the government gets involved, the more expensive things get. So you go back to, I want to finish this train of thought on Donald Trump, then I'll answer questions. So Donald Trump says that Muslims should not be able to come into this country for a short period of time until the politicians in America come up with a program to screen them to make sure they're not Islamic jihadists. And everybody's up in arms, and I'm going to short-circuit this because I can tell you all want to ask a lot of questions, but here's why. Here's why everybody's pissed, okay? Everybody's scared to pee in their pants. Here's where the Hitler comes from. Good friends of mine. And listen, I've told you over and over, Donald Trump's not my guy. But I'm not going to get into this bandwagon of brainwashed stupidity. And he should not have said radical Muslims. If we already know that they're radical Muslims, we can just we can deal with them. The problem is he treated a group of people and categorized them by their religion. And people can't think once you do that there's only one group of people who are allowed to do that. There's only one group of people who are allowed. Yeah, I agree, of course not all Muslims are radical, and nobody is suggesting that. Nobody with a brain is even coming close to suggesting that. There's only one group of people in our society, American society, that get away treating people by their race or their religion or their gender as a group. Okay? And it's not, he said ban all Muslims. In fact, he didn't even say ban them. Let's just be clear, logician. He said he wanted to stop them from being able to come in until we could put a process in place to distinguish radical Muslims. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stop using the word radical Muslim. That's a sinister thing. We've got to be careful about that. From jihadis. Now, and let's just be clear here. Let's just be clear. Listen, I've already told you I didn't like how he said it. I wouldn't have chosen that as my policy expression. But I'm going to defend reason here, even though I disagree with how he approached the problem. See, people who agree in principle can disagree strategically. I don't think that's a great strategy. Okay? But let's just look at what's happening here. He's a Republican. The reason everybody's pissed, and they don't even know why they're pissed, half the Republicans are pissed, is because in our society we've ceded that ground, and we only allow liberal socialists to talk about people by groups. See, if you're a liberal socialist and you want to talk about gay people, that's fine. You can group them all together. No problem. You want to talk about black people? No problem. You group them all together. You want to talk about Hispanics and Latinos? You group them all together? No problem. You want to talk about white people? No problem. You want to talk about Asians? You want to talk about Middle Easterns? You want to talk about Arabs? You want to talk about Muslims? You want to talk about Jews? If you're a liberal socialist, no problem. right? Matter of fact, we have special program. Justice Scalia was in the media today because he was questioning the University of Texas before the Supreme Court on how we treat blacks and why we have affirmative action for blacks. See, as long as you're advocating for affirmative action or benefits for a group, it's good. So if we want special protections in the law for groups, that's good. So the only people who are allowed to talk about groups, social groups, race, religion, nationality, creed, etc., are the liberal socialists. And as soon as you get, hola man, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué estás haciendo? Welcome. All right. Now what happens is now you get a Republican who wants to start talking about groups, and as soon as he talks about Hispanics, holy crap, no matter what he says, he's a racist. And as soon as he talks about Muslims, holy crap, people can't fathom this. They can't fathom that you could treat a group of people differently and not be a racist, unless you're a socialist. See, here's the problem. The socialists are racists. The minority groups are pawns to the oppressive socialist tyrants. And I will tell you, the libertarians are pawns to the Republican Party, too. The Republican Party is no friend of liberty. Now, the libertarians are pawns to the Republicans like minority groups are pawns to the socialists, okay? That's a different conversation, but I just wanted to put that out there and say what it is. Now, what happens is, the reason everybody's all pissed and all scared to death and comparing Donald Trump to Mussolini and Hitler is because they're like, holy crap, when you single out groups like that, you could end up with the Holocaust or with internment camps. Now, I'm going to tell you why that pisses me off. And I'm going to tell you why some of you libertarians, who are my friends, right? We're blood brothers. We're if you're an American, if you love American liberty, if you love freedom, if you love prosperity, if you love our heritage, if you love the goal and the American dream, I don't care if you're black or white or Asian. I don't care if you're gay or straight. If you love liberty, we are friends. And I'm pissed off at some of you for being so dang stupid. Because I want to show you something. Now, I'm going to ignore your questions for just a few more minutes, and I'm going to show you something. Donald Trump says Muslims who are not in America and who are not American citizens are going to be screened and not let into America until we have a system that can distinguish between the majority of the Muslims who are not Islamic jihadists and the minority who are. Now, that might not be a good strategy, but that's what he advocates. He didn't say dehumanizing things about Muslims. He didn't say the Declaration of Independence didn't mean Muslims. He didn't say he hated Muslims. He didn't say all Muslims were dangerous. He did cite some statistics, some studies that gave him some concerns that we weren't doing a very good job of screening and telling the difference between peaceful Muslims and radical jihadis. Think about this. It's not Catholic nuns who are repeatedly blowing people up. It's not peaceful Sikhs who are blowing people up. It's not fundamentalist Mormons from the Rocky Mountains who are blowing people up. Because if they were, it would be smart to say, hey, we got to start by looking at fundamentalist Mormons and figure out how to tell the people who are going to kill us from the people who aren't. Or if it was Irish Catholics, it'd be good to look at Irish Catholics and say, now, let's figure out how to tell the difference between, that's called probable cause in the law. Even the Fourth Amendment of the United States, and this is where we're going to go, but even the Fourth Amendment of the United States allows searches and seizures when you have an articulatable suspicion to believe a crime may be occurring or to believe a person may be associated with a network of people who are lending support to crime syndicates. So, now hold on a second. So here's the point, my friends. There's not a single person who's not a citizen of the United States who has a right, a civil right, to come here. So what harm is Donald Trump advocating to these Muslims? In other words, if the great sin is treating them differently because they're Muslims, But socialists do it all the time. If he were to say, let's let all Muslims in, but not Christians, would the world be pissed off? Nope. Why don't you look at the statistics of what the President of the United States, Barack Obama, has done? He lets in less than 1% of the refugees from the Middle East who are Christians, and we're not worried about that. And then people say, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have the government ask these people about their religion? Yeah, as if you've been living under a rock. Do you not understand that's what refugee status is? Do you not know we've been doing that for 180 years? That when you're being persecuted because of your religion, you can fill out an application and say, hey, I'm not safe over here because I live in communist China, or I live in communist Soviet Union, or I live in communist, Venezuela, and they are persecuting me. Or heaven forbid, I live in the communist Middle East, or I live in the Ba'athist Middle East, and because of my religion, I'm being persecuted, or because of my politics, I'm being persecuted, or because of my gender, I'm being persecuted. Can I please have asylum in the United States? You know, we've been asking people that for 180 years. That's one of the, it's in our law, 1952. We pass a law that gives the president the authority to make decisions based upon special classes. Just like we, and again, this is a different discussion, but just like we allow universities in the United States to say, yeah, I'm going to use affirmative action and single out groups that need special attention. Now, whether you agree with it or not, it's not Donald Trump who invented this idea. The only reason people are pissed off at Donald Trump is because he's not offering Muslims benefits. He's depriving them of privileges temporarily. And if you want to piss off consumers and you want to scare people to death, start thinking, well, that's enough. Just start thinking. And if you really want to tick them off, start talking about denying people benefits. They can't tell the difference between rights and privileges. They can't. It's all the same. Healthcare, privilege, right? Same thing. Economic freedom, economic prosperity. Yeah, it's right. Give it to me. I get. Go look. Finland's giving everybody, $1,000 a month. Here's my point, my friends. Y'all pissed off. Good moral friends of mine are pissed off that Donald Trump sounds like a racist. Islam's not a race, by the way. It would have been different if he would have said all Arabs. I'm not saying I would have had a different argument, but he didn't say all Arabs. He said all Muslims. It's not racism. Okay? It's bigotry if you judge a person based on their ideas or their religion without connecting it to some action or motive. Hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm gonna answer any question you want in a minute, and I'll rapid fire answer. I'll give you long answers. Hold on just a second. I got a point I'm trying to make here because it's really important, and I'm really ticked off at some of my otherwise brain-on libertarian friends. Not you, but the guy sitting next to you. These people who he's talking about temporarily depriving them of privileges of coming into the United States. And we're mad at it because he singled out a group of people based upon their ideas, based upon their manner of worship, based upon the things they believe. But starting in 2009, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, authorized and allowed the IRS to single out and target Tea Party groups and conservatives based on their ideas for special investigation and criminal prosecution, for the denial of tax privileges, and for the denial of civil rights. Where's everybody calling him Adolf Hitler? We call him a socialist and they say we're terrorists. But he did it to American citizens who are protected by the Constitution. Currently, people like myself who advocate for constitutional reform, the Department of Justice has listed that overtly on their domestic terror watch list. U.S. citizens in the United States are currently on the Department of Justice bullet point list of, hey, let's screen these people and make sure we can tell whether these citizens pose a threat. And their judging is based on our ideas. That we support the Constitution of the United States. Go look at the memo the Department of Justice just put out. They said if you're a Christian, they said if you're a constitutionalist, and they say if you're advocating smaller or limited government, you're on a list that can be watched. And by the way, Lindsey Graham says, hey, we should do that. We should do that because, there's some people in there and they go shoot up Planned Parenthood clinics. So we should learn to distinguish. And this is against U.S. citizens who have rights that are protected by the Constitution. And we call those people socialists and they call us terrorists. Donald Trump does it to the same concept, judges people based on their ideas, puts them in a group, deprives them of privileges temporarily, and we call him freaking Mussolini? We say he's going to put us in concentration camps? In internment camps? He's not advocating anything like that. But the President of the United States and the candidates on the Democratic left advocated all the time. People like Lindsey Graham, who supported the Patriot Act, they advocated all the time. Our existing Department of Justice singles out Americans based upon their ideas and puts them on watch lists so they can't buy guns. And somehow it's Donald Trump who's un-American. Crazy. Crazy. Now, you don't want to vote for Donald Trump, don't vote for Donald Trump. I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. But I'm going to defend principled thinking when we approach this, and Donald Trump is nowhere close. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are much more closely related to Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They're all avowed socialists whose ideas lead to the deprivation of rights. I posted a link on the Free Capitalist group to continue our conversation about mysticism. I did that for you, Denny, and the rest of you. All right. I've made my point. Now, you want to talk about angels and demons, or you want to talk about Principle 7, or you want to talk about more presidential candidate, you want to talk about Mormons, you ask me anything you want. The first question, okay, Principle 7. From Principle 7, is money any type of value we create that's normally represented by dollars? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the core of what I teach has been condensed into a series of lectures called the 13 Principles of Prosperity. I am a Mormon, so I think a lot about Mormons. Hold on a second, one question at a time. And the 13 Principles of Prosperity are currently available on SoundCloud. You can go to SoundCloud.com and you can listen to them for free. And Principle 7, it talks about dollars follow value. And here's the crux of that principle. And the crux of that principle is this. We live in a world where we've been trained, taught, and educated to think in terms of scarcity. And Skylar, okay, so Sky07, hey, Skylar, welcome. It's about time you joined us here. Man, I've been looking for you. Absolutely. And you asked me for a recommendation for a good book earlier today. Hallelujah. We better get connected here. You got to get more connected with the thing going on. I mean, Skylar, you're part of the American Liberty League. We got to get you dialed in. And welcome. Glad you're here. Now, don't let me get too distracted here. Going back to Principle 7. We've been trained, taught, and educated to think in terms of scarcity. So the socialists want to divide us by classes, and income classes is one of them. And so they train us to believe and to think that money is going to solve our problem. And we were born into a world where the Matrix tells us, the dominant paradigm says, if you have more money, you have more power, and you can solve your problems. And so the constant thing I hear people say all the time is, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money. And this principle, the articulation of this principle is in that context, where if you want to make more money, okay, making more money is going to make you more of what you already are, first of all. But it's going to lead you to frustration. People who focus on making more money focus on taking shortcuts because they put their subconscious mind to work trying to solve a problem of, how do I get more receipts? How do I get more paper? How do I get more money? But the way this articulation came about actually is really interesting. I've told this story before, but I'll tell you a quick version of it here. I had a friend who came in and sat down with me. He was a great leader. I posted it in both the Free Capitalist group and in the American Liberty Society official discussion. And he came and sat down with me. He said, Rick, here's a problem. I need $40,000. If I could just make $40,000, it would solve me. I'd get out of debt. My life would be different. My life would be great. And I knew he was full of crap, but he was a friend, and I wanted to teach him. And he's a religious fellow. And I said, all right, man, let me ask you a question. You really believe you need $40,000? He said, yeah, I believe I need $40,000. I said, all right. You're a religious guy. He said, yeah. I said, you believe God knows you exist? He said, yeah. I said, you believe God looks down on this world? He knows other people too? He said, yeah. I said, all right. You really are convinced you need $40,000? Yeah. And I said, you believe in the scripture where Jesus said that what father, if his son asked him for bread, would give him a stone? Oh, yeah, I believe that. So you believe God's capable of providing blessings for you? Oh, yes. And I said, do you think God knows where there's $40,000? He said, yes. I said, do you know where there's $40,000? He said, no. I said, you need $40,000. He said, yeah. I said, well, what are you going to do to get it? He said, I don't know. See, he was in that paradigm of thinking, well, I just need more money. I need more money. How am I going to get it? I don't know. How am I going to get it? I don't know. I need more money. How am I going to get it? I don't know. And I said, well, where is the money? If you believe you need it, you believe it exists somewhere, right? I mean, I want you to imagine, project your mind forward that in a week or a month or in a year, you're going to make an extra $40,000, right? And he says, okay, I believe that's possible. I said, well, where is it? That $40,000 you're going to make, where is it right now? And he couldn't quite, and I'm going fast here telling this story. And finally, I got him to admit it's in other people's pockets. It's in other people's bank accounts. It's on other people's credit cards. It's in other people's pockets, right? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, if you're not going to use a gun force, and you're not going to use deception, because I know you're a principled man, therefore we're going to put those things aside, how are you going to get that money? There's only one way people who have money in their pocket are going to voluntarily give it to you. Why would you give money out of your pocket to somebody else voluntarily? And leaving charity aside, he was not going to go, beg for $40,000. So you've got to create value so that they want something you're offering them. We buy the dollars with our human life value exchange. Yeah, you've got to create value and offer it into the marketplace so that someone says, I would prefer to have what you're offering rather than the money in my pocket. And so let's say you were going after $1,000 a whack. Let's say you created a product or you had something that you could sell for $1,000 and you could create it, right? See, then you had 40 people who chose to exchange with you. You'd have $40,000 and the money would come out of their pockets into yours. And so what happens is, we want to correct the way we're thinking. Instead of going out and saying in scarcity, I need more money, I need more money. A capitalist, a producer, a person who loves liberty says, I got to create some more value. I want to prosper. I want to do better. So I'm going to look for ways to create more value. And by creating more value, I'm going to open opportunities for dollars to follow. Dollars in that context means currency. So in answer to your question, dollars in that context means currency. If you need more currency, if you want more currency to accomplish some goal, the principled way to go get it is to say to yourself, dollars follow value. I'm going to create some value, and exchange is going to create wealth. They're very closely related. Exchange creates wealth is a broader principle, but dollars follow value is a very specific economic principle that says if you want more dollars, focus on creating more value. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance for a follow-up because you waited so long on that. I want to make sure I answered your question. You got a follow-up on that? Or did that answer it? I'm a Catholic. I'm going to answer this one real quickly. I'm a Catholic, but my girlfriend is Mormon, and I really love her. Do you think we have a future? Well, you haven't given me enough information to know. I did that. I dated a Catholic girl for 6.5 years, and I became a Mormon. I started off very sympathetic to Catholicism. Let me come back to that. So the concept of money is view creation. Well, the principle there is value creation. Money is a tool. Currency is a tool that men who love liberty and value freedom use to exchange. Without a tool to govern exchange, men resort to force and deception. Money is the trader's tool. In an honest society with free people, money is the tool to facilitate exchange. And so the principle there says if you want more of that, the principled way to go get it is to create value. Dollars follow value. The richest people, speaking in terms of money, the richest people among us are the ones who create the most value. Now, I'll give you a corollary to that. They usually create value in smaller, bite-sized pieces. They're rabbit hunters, not elephant hunters. The easiest way to create value is to create value in small packets and distribute it widely. In other words, I'd rather have 1,000 people giving me $1 every month than one person giving me $1,000 every month. Because human life value, relationship, those are the things that matter. And you're doing an exchange with 1,000 people for $1. Your influence, your network of influence is broad and powerful. And one of the things in scarcity, everybody always wants to go do the big money deal. They want to do the $1 million deal. They want to have the big house right out of the gate. But if you want real economic power, multiply your exchange. Productivity is the standard. So find something you can exchange. Find something you can create value doing, and then do it a lot. Okay, there's been lots of questions going on here. I'm going to try to do this in an orderly way. Any questions, fair game. I'm going to go back to the Mormon and Catholic question. So, on the Mormon and Catholic question, one of the problems is if you're a doctrinal Mormon and she's a doctrinal Catholic, meaning a true believer, doctrinal, not just cultural, you're going to have a choice to make. Because as a Mormon, okay, your ultimate goal, the ultimate rung on the ladder in Mormon theology is the patriarchal order of the priesthood, section 132 of the Doctrine and Covenants, which is marriage. And a Roman Catholic girl, you might love her, she may be a great woman, but unless and until she's willing to enter into the covenant of baptism and so on and so forth, and go through the covenant of the initiatories and the endowments, and get into that with you, you're going to be living below yourself. You're going to be sacrificing your ideals, and that's not really love. Love isn't sacrificing your ideals. And so the kind of relationship that you're going to have with her, if it's really based on love, is going to be limited in the marriage compartment unless you guys can come to some conversion. And I'd be happy to... Open topic, Tweed and Diz, open topic. So if you have a follow-up question, I definitely think it's possible. I have dear friends who are Roman Catholics. I have family members. I came from a predominantly Roman Catholic background. And I think Roman Catholics who are reasonable, rational, faithful people do much good in this world. So do Mormons. Mormons and Catholics generally, doctrinal Mormons and doctrinal Catholics, there's going to have to be some kind of conversion there. So you would know better whether you're willing to be that missionary. Okay, next question. Oh, okay, the tally. We did a tally on freecapitalist.com, the straw poll. Rand Paul is the winner. We took votes all day long on freecapitalist.com, on the Free Capitalist group on Facebook, and the winner by a long shot was Rand Paul. Second place was Ted Cruz. Third place was Ben Carson. And fourth place was Donald Trump. So there you go. Rand Paul's the guy. You should be glad that Rand Paul's advertising on Free Capitalist Radio. Okay, next question. You're going to have to ask again. How to explore what I can do to discover human life value to share with others. The first thing you do is create a human life value balance sheet, my brother. Write down, create a list of the 5 pillars of wealth. Boom, 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 boom. On the human life, on the property value side, then do the 5 pillars of wealth on the human life value side, and then brainstorm answers. Fill it in. Fill in your balance sheet for your human life value. If you need some help doing that, I'm happy to help you do that. Maybe remind me, and we'll do how do you do that as an episode of Ask the Free Capitalist. But that's the first step, and then we can talk about it. And if you want some extra help, I would suggest picking up Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success in 16 Lessons. Oh, you're not familiar with the 5 Pillars of Wealth? Okay. Well, then tomorrow, send me a message on Facebook and tell me you want the show's topic to be the 5 Pillars of Wealth, and I'll make that. Hello. Hey. All right. Next question. If you want, depending on the questions, we run out of questions here. I might get a pencil and paper, and I'll do the 5 Pillars of Wealth right here. But let's see if there are other questions. Woo, that was a fast hour. I'll stay on a little bit longer, guys. Fire away with your questions. I saw a bunch of them. Is communism left-wing? All right. I'm going to say something. I'm just going to give you the quick answer. I'm going to just tell you like it is. No such thing as left-wing. It's an abstract creation by people who oppress. Left-wing and right-wing has to do with techniques, not principles. It's all tyranny. Okay, so you go look at Dr. Skousen's book. What you're looking for is the balance center, which is capitalism or liberty. So they're really, fascism and socialism is the same doctrine. Just wearing different color suits. Hey, name 17. Can you give an example of a holding fund? Sure. 2 examples. Personal example would be a person who accumulates some wealth and creates an investment account. It's money you set aside. It's not money you're using to live. It's not money used to meet your needs or to facilitate your current lifestyle that you're going to set aside for the purpose of capitalism, for the purpose of growth. That's what a holding fund is. It holds your funds for the purpose of investment on a personal level. Then on a more corporate level, it's an investment fund that more than one person might participate in to do the same thing. Okay, next question. Cruz versus Rubio. Who would you vote for? Cruz twice. What about using the equity mill concept outside of real estate? Okay, well, the equity mill concept goes back to the 5 pillars of wealth. The equity mill concept is a basic concept that says value is created by utilizing physical things, not by consuming them. And so there's equity, if you will, in the use or the utility of all things. And so finding the most efficient use of things. Yeah, absolutely. Great concept. Be careful. A lot of people have taken that term. I was forced by court order for 5 years not to talk to about 500 people who knew about that. And so there are a lot of people who stole that term and use it for things that aren't what I used it for. Bird equals collectivism. It's a turkey served up to the people who enslaved the world. Okay, I don't understand that. When can we get together as a group at Liberty Reef again? Ha! Good question. Good question. Email Jewel. Tell her you want to do it. Make it happen. Okay, great. I'm with the other user, but I listen. Yeah. Sorry, I missed all those questions. You have to ask again. Come on, folks. Let's go. Question. Thoughts on basic income? I'm not sure what you mean. What do I do for a living? I build the Free Capitalist Project, which includes the American Liberty Society, the American Liberty League, American Founders University, American Founders Academy, the Producer Revolution, and several other things. That's my primary thing. What I'm doing in Salt Lake is, through divine intervention, I've also developed an increase in human life value in the legal world, and I also work in the legal community. And I'm here helping bail a law firm out of some trouble, doing some legal writing and legal research. All right, am I going to set up acquisition reps and preferred buyers again? Good question. I don't know. Haven't made that decision. I am going to start selling the real estate training. What's your Facebook name? Well, my personal Facebook name is Claude R. Franklin, but my public name is Rick Kerber. And if you go on Facebook, I have a fan page there, a public page, Rick Kerber-Free Capitalists. Someone wants to see inside the black box called Rick's Income Machine. Yeah, I know. And I know what agency they work for. I am the black box. Do you not know anything? Hey, Victor, what's up? All right, guys, it is 11:03. I'll stay on 7 more minutes. Let's see how many questions we can get answered in 7 minutes. Come on, deep. 5 pillars. No, I can't do that one in 7 minutes. We'll do that one tomorrow. What's my religion? I'm a Mormon. Where do you see the U.S. economy going economically? Well, as socialism grows, economic liberty dies, government propping up measures continue to create artificial bubbles in the economy, and so I see ups and downs until we can't perpetrate the money system anymore. What happens is every time we have a down, we bail ourselves out through deficit spending and increasing the debt. We're now $18 trillion in debt. We're devaluing our currency so rapidly at some point we're not going to be able to rebound, and we're going to have a national economy that collapses into microeconomies, into communities of producers. Yeah, of course, non-Mormons can go to heaven. You bet. God loves all men, not just Mormons. Opportunity to create value at Liberty Reef. Absolutely, there's opportunity to create value at Liberty Reef. Yes, fix. I don't know what that means. Which of the candidates do you prefer? I like Ted Cruz. I like Rand Paul. I like Ben Carson's personality. I like Donald Trump's, bull in a china closet kind of thing. But in terms of principles and in terms of policies, those are the candidates I like. Some of you know I believe in capitalism. I don't think the world should be changed from the top down. So the President of the United States is a great leader, a great position. I respect the President of the United States. I love the United States of America. But we've got to build a moral revolution from the ground up. We've got to organize ourselves. We've got to reclaim power in our homes, our families, our counties, okay, and our states. And we've got to have capitalist states. And we can reform this nation quickly. It's a 2, 5, and 10-year project. Are you a more man? I am more man, brother. What year do you see the economy? We've got some time. We're going to have ups and downs, just like this last one we went through. I don't know when it's going to ultimately collapse. I just know principles govern. What Skousen book again? For the Balance Center, I would get The Making of America hands down. Yeah, I'm a Mormon. I joined the Mormon Church when I was 19 years old. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool convert. Believe it. I'm a doctrinal convert. Matter of fact, I do a podcast on Sunday nights called Mormon Sense. You can look it up on Facebook. Mormons blow, huh? Well, you're entitled to your opinion, brother. From that articulation, my guess is you don't know much about religion. Do secret societies run the show? Of course. Secret societies run every show. It's called agendas. I mean, human beings work together. It's called the law of organized effort, and they either work together for good or evil. And secret societies, if that definition means like enforced by penal laws and that kind of thing, that's a different thing. But yeah, I mean, some of you know my story. I poked my head up into the gang of the Gadianton robbers, and they almost cut it off. People are down on what they're not up on. Thanks, Dr. Skousen. Yeah. What's called science? I believe in science. Of course I believe in science. I believe in truth. I believe in reason. I believe in the age of enlightenment. Yep. Do secret societies have all the power only when the people don't do anything? Well, there's no such thing as the people versus secret societies. There's individuals, and then there are individuals who organize themselves with others. And organized people are always more powerful than unorganized people. It's called the law of organized effort. It can be used for good or evil. It's like a gun. Some of you call it the mastermind principle. Hey, Rustlin. All right, you got 3 more minutes. Try to stump me. Tell me, please. Hi, Artem Minsky. Tell you what? The mastermind principle, that was the phrase Napoleon Hill used. Hello. Who is my pick? You mean who am I going to vote for, or who do I think's going to win? Popular Mechanic said jet fuel is the most powerful substance on Earth. What? Okay, great. Thanks for sharing. Did you turn your bed into a rocking chair? Oh, no, I'm just excited. My bed? What? Who will I vote for? Not sure yet. I'm still hoping for a major shakeup. I'm still hoping that there may be something that happens in electoral politics in the United States over the next 6 months that hasn't happened for a long, long time. Think and Grow Rich is good. Master Key to Riches is good. The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons is the best. I know Ted Cruz. He's been a friend of mine since 1995. Very formidable intellect. What are you doing, brothers? We're having a good conversation, man. Okay, a few more minutes. Gonna have to wait till tomorrow at 10 o'clock if you don't get that question out now. The Laws of Success in 16 Lessons. No. If you're asking me, should I invest in oil, I'm going to give you the advice I give to everybody. Principles govern. My friends, don't gamble. Oil can be a good investment. Oil can be a bad investment. You know this, even though you're probably not very schooled in investment if you're asking me that question. Okay, let me show you something. I could give you 1 ounce piece of gold, and I could give your neighbor 1 ounce piece of gold. And I could ask you to go invest it. And you'd both invest the same thing, and you'd both come back with disparate returns. You'd have something different because your human life value, what you know, what you believe, how you know things, your skills, etc., the people you know, they're going to enable you to do different things. So the answer to the question isn't should you invest in oil. If you have the question, you should invest in yourself. You're going to be the best investment. When you know what to do, you won't need to ask other people whether you should do it. Now you might ask me my thoughts on oil and this kind of thing, but my answer is you should invest in yourself first. Human life value is the source and creator of all property value. Look up the 13 Principles of Prosperity on SoundCloud. Well, there is no such thing as a free market system without a legal system, because free markets are based on human beings entering into exchange based on contracts. And there has to be a way to adjudicate an alleged breach of a contract. I'm a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, you invested, and? Sir Clark, welcome. You're kind of at the end of the show here. How do you think it will work in the Middle East then? Well, freedom works the same. If you get people who engage in free exchange, it creates wealth. Liberty is the principle. Yeah, Royal Dutch Shell. Great. What about it? You can make money, you can lose money. Are you shorting it? You holding it? Why? Denny, the link for the Mysticism post, look on the official American Liberty Society page, or look on the Free Capitalist group. It may just be a link, because I was doing it from my phone, and for some reason it doesn't create the nice, cool little graphic and that kind of thing. So it may just be a bunch of http:// whatnot link. All right, my friends, it has been great. Keep your brain on, and come back tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. Usury, is usury moral? Deception and lying is never moral. If you just mean high interest, interest is not immoral. Brain off. Keep your brain on, my friends. Prosperity, peace, and happiness are the result of liberty. Same time, same place tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Mountain Time. Warm regards.